All right, everyone. Hello again. We are back on the second part of doing some common Excel tasks, but using Power Query to process them. So on the right side is the list of the tasks that we want to do for today, and on the left side is the data set that we want to play around with. Again, these are not actual ID representative of anybody. These are just randomized data they are put together. Okay, so let's load this data into the our editor. Go to data and then choose from data slash range. And we have our data set here. Let's do a little bit of cleaning. Let's look at the data, the school date, and let's just change this into the date format by clicking through this icon left to the name and then choosing date. All right, all right, so now what are the tasks that we have at hand? So we want to remove duplicates. So in order for us to find out if there were actually really duplicates at this point, let's review one of the tasks that we did in the previously. We can find out how many rows there are to begin with. Okay, so you go to transform, go count rows. So we have 92,086 lines for this data set without being filtered or anything. Okay, so that we have that. So now let's try to see if there are some duplicates. So we can go to home and there is this remove rows function. And there are a number of ways for you to remove rows. You can do remove top rows. So if you have uh, data on the first like 5 rows that you don't need, then you can use that. Same thing, you can use bottom rows or remove alternate rows depending on your use case, obviously. So but for this problem, we want to remove duplicates. So let's click that. And now let's check how many rows are left without after removing the duplicates. Go to transform, count rows. And so now we have 28,877 down from 92,080 something, right? So more than 60% of our data is actually they're duplicates, so we don't really need them. Okay, so now that you know how to remove them, I'm going to remove this because this is just a checkpoint. So we have removed our duplicates. I actually want to keep the duplicates at this point, so I'm going to just remove this. But if you do want to keep your data without duplicates, obviously you don't remove that step. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is splitting rows or columns. So let's say we want to split this column right here. I'm not going to clean this very perfectly. I just want to show how to split the column. Okay, so let's say on the first instance you see that language art slash grade for aim. Let's say we want to split this into two columns with language arts and everything else. That's what we want. Okay, so you can do this two ways. You can either right click on the name and there is this split column, and you have these options as to how you want to split them. What I'm going to try to do is from home, there is this split column, the same thing. I'm going to use a delimiter. I'm going to use that delimiter slash. Obviously, you can also use other types of delimiters depending on how you want to split your data, really. So, but for me, I'm gonna want to use the slash, and I want to do the leftmost delimiter. So that basically means if in some instances down below I have something slash. Oh, so this one right here is a good example. Row number 8, economics, business slash free interp. That should be in. Okay, enterprise. I'm not so sure. Okay, so you have multiple slashes, right? So that would mean if you choose each occurrence of the limiter, then that would mean it would create 3 columns just for that because you have two delimiters. And but what I want is just to create 2 columns really. So I want to choose the leftmost. So that means the first ever delimiter that they see, the data before that is 1 column, everything else would be another column. So that's what I want. Okay, now again, you can do whatever you want depending on your use case. Okay, I'm gonna click OK. So now I have the first column is just now course name with just plain course name. I'm gonna change this column header by just clicking on that. I'm gonna remove that point one. Okay, and then in here I'm gonna change this and I'm gonna say course info maybe. It's just a name. Okay, all right, so now we have successfully split our column, one column. Okay. All right. So what's the next one? Next one is merging. So the opposite of of splitting. So let's say we want to merge these two, okay? This one. Okay, so I want to do highlight this, pressing control and on your keyboard and then highlight the next one. These are the ones that you want us to merge. So you want to put them in one row, one column. So I'm gonna, once you have highlighted the columns that you want, right click and then click merge columns, and then they will ask you what kind of separator you want. Well, you can do any one of these, or you can put it back into slash if you want, the slash if you want. For me, just for the purposes of illustrations, I'm gonna try, I don't know, maybe an equal sign. Okay, and then the new name you want to call it, the option, the default name will be merged. I'm gonna call this one course name 2. Okay, all right. Okay, so now, ooh, okay, so let's look at this. All right, so you have language, blah, 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 that, and then you have that equal sign. And why do you think that is? Okay, so remember some of the, when we split this one, they did not have, some of the second column have nulls because they only really did not have, what's it called, that one, they don't have a slash in the first place. So this one right here is basically foundations of algebra underscore aim, and that's your first column. The second column is a null, so that's why you still have that. It's still concatenated the null, you just won't see it. That can be cleaned in any way, or in different ways. We are not going to cover that at this point though, because I just want to show you how to merge columns. The reasons why sometimes we use merging is if you want to have a reference between 2 points, although we can do that by grouping actually, but that's just another way of showing you how to do a merging. Okay, the next one is add a month or a year column. So say for instance you have this date column, you have different actual dates, but you also want to have a new column that says the month. Like for the first entry here, you have 10/31/2022. You want to have another column that says October, and then next it says November, next it says August. Okay, so that's easy enough to do. I will duplicate this. I'm gonna duplicate this column by right clicking and duplicate this column, and this duplicated column will be my month column. Okay, so I'm going to change the name and change it to month. Okay, all right, from month, actually from the name month, okay, I'm gonna right click this and there is this transform, and you can transform, maybe meaning you can do years, quarters, month, week, day, text transform. Like you can make the, if these were text, you can make them uppercase all of them, or trim leading or whatever space, leading or trailing spaces, or you can find the length of each term, which we can do this one on the next other part of our video. Oh, not this video, but another task. Okay, so let's go to month, and we want to create the name of, we want to create a column that shows the name of the month. Okay, so now I'm gonna drag this, okay, drag that next to it so we can easily check. All right, so this one right here, you have October 31, that is indeed October, 11, that's November, August, that's 8, that's August, 10, that's October. As you can see, it created that new column that shows, that captures just the month of your date column. In the same manner, you can also do the same thing by finding out the year. Okay, you can create another column. All right, the next one is grouping by. All right, so the grouping by is actually more on, you use this for aggregation. Like you want to find how many counts of instances are there for each team. So let's try that. Let's say we want to group this one by team. Okay, so from highlight your team, from home, you have this group by. And you have two ways of groupings, basic and advanced. So in the basic, you only have one reference. You have one data to group them by, and you're also just wanting to aggregate it with one data, one information. So let's do that. Let's say we want to group them by a team, and you want to find the count of rows per team. You can do count, or you can do the average, or the median, or the minimum, maximum. In this case, we just want to do the count, okay? All right. So it tells you now, let's sort this. Okay. So for instance here, group team 1 has 13,000 rows. for from your data set of 92,000. Okay, and so on and so forth. That is a very basic grouping with an account aggregation. Okay, so I'm gonna remove this and I'm gonna group it a different way. Same thing, going to home, group by. This time, instead of basic, I'm gonna go to advanced, but I'm still gonna group them by team. So still one reference, just group them by team. This time I want to do account, but I want to add another aggregation. I want to find the earliest date of the school date. Okay, so if it's earliest, then that means it's the minimum, right? Minimum of what? Minimum ID? No, we want minimum date because you want earliest date. And let's say you also want a latest date, and so this will be your maximum date. Okay, so you can figure out now that, say for instance, you have a column of sales or grades, for instance, then you can have an aggregation of average. So in here you can see, you can get the average sales or average grade. You can also do the sum, so the total sales, the total grade, whatsoever. You can have the median. So all of this aggregation you can actually access easily. Okay. All right, let's click OK. So this is what we have. Okay, so team one with 13,000 lines, the earliest date is this, and the latest date is that. It just so happened that they all have the same earliest date, and it's probably because of the way I worked with the data set. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna remove this because I want to group them again a different way. So let's say I want to group them by teams, but also within the team, I also want to group them by month. So now you have two reference. So one way that you can do that is you can merge these two and then group them by that new merged columns. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use group by. Okay, so group by and go to advanced. I'm gonna group them by team and then I'm gonna group them by month. Okay, and I want the count still. I still want the maximum. So that's not the, I don't need the maximum. I want the latest date. Okay, and that will be the maximum date. Okay, and you can add other aggregation here as you please, or as it works for you. Okay, so let's organize this. Let's sort this by team, and then you also, let's sort this one also by month descending. All right, so what this means is that you have team 1 in September, they have the latest date as 9:30, but team 2 in September, the latest date is also 9:30. I guess because I created the data in a randomized form, so it's evenly distributed, they would have the same value, okay? But the counts are, I think, different. Okay, yeah. So in this case, what we did is we just grouped them using two reference points, and we have multiple aggregation as well. Okay, so let's say this is your final data set and we can load this one up. So we can go to home, close and load, and then close and load too. And we are gonna close this as, we're gonna load this as a table, and it will again create a new tab for that table. It has a larger data set, so it takes a little bit of processing. Okay, so I'm gonna choose table, click OK, and it will create a new tab here. I will give you the new data that you have created.